What if pain isn't the problem, but actually the pathway back to you? You're listening to The Leadership Wound, From Pain to Permission. I'm Amanda Rohr, your host and founder of Authentically You, coaching for embodied spiritual living and leading. This is where we get honest about the real cost of leadership, the burnout, the pretending, the rejection, and the return to your authentic self. Because this isn't about performance, it's about permission. Welcome to the leader you've always been. I'm curious, from your perspective working in psychology, what would you say is the reason why, or maybe you've heard people say, why they don't see themselves as a leader?
I hear the term imposter syndrome all the time. Because people think that like if they step fully into their power or into their areas of expertise that they don't have the right to, or that they're less than, or that they're not good enough, or people are going to see me as a fraud or a fake. And so they really have a hard time with that disconnect of really seeing themselves as an authority in whatever their area is, whatever it is that they're speaking about. And so what I encourage people to do from a psychological point of view is to act, as Alfred Adler put it, acting as if you already are the thing, even though you might have this own internal battle going on. Like, people are seeing me as a fraud. They're pointing at me. They're going to talk about me behind my back. No, you do the thing even though you don't feel that you're confident and ready for it yet. You act as if you are the person. And when you do that consistently enough and you borrow the confidence that you want to have for your future self, you act as if you already have it. Eventually it does become your reality.
Welcome back to The Leadership Wound. I'm your host, Amanda Rohr. It's where we explore the hidden cost of leadership here on this podcast. And today's episode is part of a special ongoing podcast series called Unscripted Conversations. These episodes are meant to be interwoven into the mix of my other series, and they're designed to be not like a formal interview, but with coffee or tea, as I have in my Christmas mug, over a good conversation with a friend. In each episode, I sit down with leaders who are willing to lay down their script and share the truth behind their own unique leadership stories, the moments of pain, the awakening, and the transformation that has shaped them into the leader that they are today. These conversations are designed not to be polished strategy, but honest, real truth about what happens when we stop pretending, we start healing, and we learn to lead like ourselves. In each conversation, we're going to move through 4 different areas, in which I'll guide everybody through as we go through that. And by hearing these leaders reflect on these same 4 areas, I hope to offer our listeners a more fuller and honest picture of what authentic leadership looks like for today. And so today's guest is Laura Flowers, and I'm so honored to have her along with us on this podcast. Laura Flowers is a life coach, a Reiki master, a school psychologist, which I'm sure has its own set of stories, and the host of Rediscovering You podcast. She empowers others to rediscover their purpose and create fulfilling and aligned lives. Her work bridges practical psychology with intuitive energy healing for deep and lasting results. Laura, welcome to the Leadership Wound podcast. I'm so glad that you decided to say yes to me.
Hi, Amanda. Thank you for inviting me. I am honored to be a guest on this wonderful podcast of yours.
Great. Thank you so much. We're going to begin by widening our view of what we call this word leadership beyond the titles and positions that we think that leadership usually has. I continue to hear over and over that people do not see themselves as a leader, especially an entrepreneur. And so I want to ask you this question. When you think about that word leadership today in our culture, how would you define it in your own words, in your own experience, beyond just the typical position or authority?
I love that question. And yeah, I have recently changed my own personal definition of leadership because, like you said, and the other people that you've worked with, I've never thought of myself as a leader. I've been scared to even like use my name and leader in the same sentence. And I don't know why I've been so intimidated by that, to be totally honest with you. But as I've kind of been in my own personal journey and evolution of my own growth, I'm realizing right now that the word leader and leadership, it really isn't about your title. It's not about your job position. It's not about a hierarchy. It is very much the energy that you bring. For me, the energy that I bring to any given dynamic or scenario, whether it is in my work in coaching or in psychology or on my podcast, it all comes back to being totally comfortable and confident, being authentically me in my
Mm,
own personal values and standing so firm in my truth that I'm just speaking from my heart. And I've found that when I do that, people have just reacted in such surprising ways that they treat me as a leader because I'm
mm.
speaking from a place of confidence and empowerment rather than trying to be a performance or emulate something that's somewhere.
I love that confidence in your own self, not in leading other people, but in your own self is attracting people
Mhm.
to actually see you as a leader. I'm curious, from your perspective as a psychologist, working in psychology, what would you say is the reason why, or maybe you've heard people say, why they don't see themselves as a leader?
I hear the term imposter syndrome all the time. All the time,
Mm,
because people think that, like, if they step fully into their power or into their areas of expertise, that they don't have the right to, or that they're less than, or that they're not good enough, or people are gonna see me as a fraud or a fake. And so they really have a hard time with that disconnect of really seeing themselves as an authority in whatever their area is, whatever it is that they're speaking about. And so what I encourage people to do from a psychological point of view is to act as Alfred Adler put it, as if, acting as
mm,
if you already are the thing, even though you might have this own internal battle going on. Like people are seeing me as a fraud. They're going to, like, they're pointing at me. They're going to talk about me behind my back. No, you do the thing even though you don't feel that you're confident and ready for it yet. You act as if you are the person. And when
mm,
you do that consistently, enough and you borrow the confidence that you want to have for your future self, you act as if you already have it. Eventually, it does become your reality. So that's been
mm.
my experience for myself too, but also with so many people that I have worked along the way.
Yeah. I wonder sometimes if it is because we're so afraid of that word perfection. So
Mm,
it's not as if that we, if we really sat there or we really examined our lives that we wouldn't say, "Oh, yeah, we are good at that," or "Yeah, I can do that." But
mhm,
when we have the measure of it has to be perfection,
mhm.
then we say that imposter syndrome like, "Oh no, I can't be to that level."
Right. And the thing is, though, like, we all know logically that there's no such thing as perfection. So
Yes.
why do we hold this as a yardstick for how we have to be? Like, if we have to be perfect. We wouldn't expect that for anybody else. Why do we hold that to ourselves? When
Why
you
do we? Yes. Yeah.
freaking society, that's why. Because we gotta be perfect and polished. But we actually don't. And what I've found in my work is that people respond much more to authenticity, imperfection, vulnerability than they do to something that seems forced or fake or polished or scripted. It's
Mm.
just people don't resonate with that the same way they do as a leader who is speaking authentically, rawly, sometimes imperfectly.
Yeah.
That's where people see themselves in, and that's when people are wanting to pay attention to a leader, is that, okay, I
Yeah.
can see myself in that person and all of their imperfections and vulnerabilities. And so then if they can do the thing and they're not perfect, then maybe I also have a chance at that.
Yes. Well, I always think it's endearing when I see someone else taking the imperfect action, or I look at them with such compassion and curiosity. I don't give it a second thought that they messed up with this or said that. But when I myself use the measuring stick for some reason, which is a lot of the reason why I created this special series, the Unscripted. I mean, that is very intentional. I come with a set of questions, but I have no idea what's going to come up for me or for the other person. And that was a little nerve wracking for me in the beginning to step out and do that.
But Amanda, that means you are stepping fully into your role as being a leader, that you trust
Yes.
yourself, that you know you don't need a script, that you're so confident in your own intuition of knowing that you're going to lead the conversation in a meaningful way for your listeners. And that to me is much more of a marker of you being a strong leader,
Yeah.
that you're comfortable doing it without a script.
Yeah, yeah, and the comfortability will come. I'm getting more and more as I step out and do that. And I think, I would love for our listeners just to hear the uncomfortableness is not a bad thing. It's really
No.
not. It's actually a really, really good thing. And I almost have to like trick my brain. Okay, this feels uncomfortable, but this is what will lead me to where I want to be. So I'm just going to step out, take that imperfect action, and live in the uncomfortable.
The comfort zone is such a beautiful thing, right? Absolutely zero growth happens in the comfort zone. If
Yes.
you want to grow, you must be willing to feel uncomfortable. Period. There's
Yeah.
no workaround. There's no like getting away with it. You have to do it. And I promise you'll be uncomfortable, but that is where the growth and the magic happens. Discomfort that you might feel in the beginning of starting something or doing something new, that is temporary. It truly
Mm.
is. It is.
Yes.
Tell yourself, remind yourself, this is a temporary emotion or sensation
Mm.
that I am experiencing. And so don't let it scare you. It's not going
Yeah.
to be a forever thing.
And let it flow through you because then you'll get
Yeah.
comfortable with that uncomfortable. And then the next thing will come around and that'll be the uncomfortable again. It's like this cycle of goodness as we grow. Yes.
Right.
Well, I think we're coaching each other here. This is
I think
perfect.
so too. Yes. Free
Okay,
coaching
let's move
session.
on to one of my core themes in my own coaching practice is this word authenticity that we've just been talking about a little bit. What it means to lead as your true self instead of what other people think you should be leading like. And even I want to put myself in that. My true self versus what I think I should be or where I should be as a leader or just as a human. I'm notorious for saying, I thought I would be much further along, or
Mhm.
I hate where I'm at. I wish I was somewhere else. So when you think about this word authenticity and being true to who you are, how you're created, and the present reality of where
Mhm.
you are today, why do you think the world needs more of that authenticity in this day and age?
That's a beautiful question, Amanda. Wow. Okay. So the world needs more authenticity, especially in this day and age with everything that is happening on this planet right now, because okay, I wasn't expecting for the conversation to go in this direction, but I'm just going to go with it. We are all energetic beings, and at our core, we are love. That is
Mm,
who we are. Like every human on this planet, whatever your life experiences are, at your core, if you are being your authentic self, it is love. Okay.
mm,
And so we get away from that when we are caught up in the chaos of what's going around us in society, in the world, in conflict. And so it pulls us into things that are not at the core of who we were when we first entered this world and who we are
mm,
truly meant to be at a soul level. And so, if we have enough people that are willing to use their voice and lead from their authentic core state of a being of love and light for this world, then that is what is going to provide positive change and create positive change to a world that, in my opinion, I just see so much suffering and so much
mm,
heartache that is completely unnecessary, and that we have the power to change if enough of us come together and are willing to really reflect at who we are and what is important to us. And I'm willing to bet that at the core, if people take the time and really self reflect, they'll find values that are important to them. Words will
Mm,
resonate like compassion and love and care and trust and all those high vibrational sorts of feelings. And that
yes.
we know that that's who we are at our most authentic self. And we are brave enough to put that vulnerable side of ourselves out there. It gives permission for others to do the same, and it
Mm.
gives permission to challenge a narrative that doesn't resonate with who we truly are.
Yes, that is so good. And especially, one of the things I really am excited about in this podcast series is bringing on different voices, different faiths, different ethnicities, different,
Mhm.
male, female. And I think at the core of even the fact we have all this diversity is what you mentioned, is that we're all humans, all created with this core being of love, created out of love, I would say, from
Mhm.
my faith tradition. And isn't there a song, "What the world needs more
Yeah, and
is
All You Need
love,
Is Love, the Beatles,
love, love, love."
there's people all, like, throughout the ages have known this to be true. Like, we
Mm,
know it to be true, and we need to come back to that because it's can be you can get caught up in, like, the just whirlwind of stuff that's happening around us and other people's pain and misery or, like, getting caught up in fear or wanting power or things
yes.
like that, and that it takes us away from where we're meant to be, where we're truly supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like if we're going to be authenticity, we're going to be authentic to how we were created. So I love how you bridge those two together. For humanity to be authentic to themselves, it is that they have this essence and energy, this motivation, this desire for love.
Mhm.
Love for yourself, love for others.
Yes, absolutely. Love for and I'm so glad you said love for yourself too, because that really is so important. It is so pivotal in everybody's growth is to truly honor and love who you are and
Yeah.
care for yourself. Because when we truly honor, love, and care for our own selves, then we can extend that to others, model that for others, and hopefully encourage others to do the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah, and I think that's a big piece, this love of self, because some faith traditions in Christianity come at the aspect of like needing, to be atoned for our sin, which I believe so, but you take come from a narrative from the beginning of that we're evil, we're wicked, and so therefore we don't have love in ourselves and love for ourselves. As the starting point, God created us out of love for love. And depending on where you start in that story, can depend on if you see yourself as wicked and evil. And then I don't know how authenticity comes out of that. Yes, I believe we need God and we need to be forgiven. But when we only see ourselves in that aspect of our sin, then we don't see ourselves in the aspect of the love piece.
And that brings up another point for me is that society and other people, the people in our circle are mirrors for our own what we're going through. So if and vice versa, we mirror
Yeah.
back who we are to others and project that on others. So if we are looking at ourselves and don't have self-love and are, thinking I am wicked or I've done wrong or I'm not good enough, whatever your negative narrative might be,
Yeah.
then you're more naturally going to project that and expect that in society and expect that in other people and act accordingly. So
Yes.
if you come from a place of, I am worthy of love, I am whole, and I am, a beautiful, exactly as I was meant to be, and I am made to do good in this world, I'm going to
Mm.
see that in other people. I'm going to
Yes.
treat others as though that is their truth. And
Yeah.
when you treat others a certain way, they start to internalize that and believe that in themselves. And so maybe somebody who has a history of always trying to one up somebody else or put their own needs ahead of other people or cut other people down, if you start to challenge that narrative by treating them differently and treating them as
Mhm.
though they're actually somebody who is a caring, kind, compassionate human worthy of love, and
Yeah.
you extend that to them, it kind of shakes them. I mean, I've seen that happen
Oh, yeah.
times, like, they don't know what to do with that. You're
Yeah. And you
expecting
first have
fight
to do that to
conflict.
yourself.
True. Yeah.
You to be able to do that to others. That's so good. I love I love that intersection of authenticity and the created out of love. That's really good. And the need for it in today's society. No one would argue. No one would argue with what you're saying about how the world just needs more more love for sure. Before we move into the next part of the conversation, I want to frame it the way I do my own personal inner work, which I know you do as well as a coach. Um, my definition of leadership is quite simple. When I think about that concept of leadership, I think about it through a definition or a lens of influence. So if we are all humans and we all carry influence, I believe. We influence, everybody that we interact with. Then at some point in our lives, we will experience rejection. We will experience a wounding from someone else. We're putting ourselves out there. It is normal for us to experience some type of wounding around this idea of influence and leadership as we rub shoulders with people. And in my own work, I've become deeply committed to normalizing that word, leadership wound, because we all are humans. We're all leaders. We're all influencing. And I don't want people to feel judgment or fear around their woundings. And I just wanted to know if you could speak a little bit to that, maybe what you yourself has experienced in this area of wounding, or even seen in some of the people that you've worked with.
Yeah, no, and I just love the name of your podcast too, the leadership wounds, and like how we all have it if we're willing to stop and take a look at it because it's so valid and it's so true, and definitely for me 100%. It's if you had asked me even 2 years ago if I'd be speaking about leadership on your podcast, I'd be like, you're kidding me. No, 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 not me. And if that's because I've had leadership wounds. That's
Mm,
because I have put myself out there and I've been told that my ideas are rubbish and that
mm,
I shouldn't have opened my mouth at that meeting. Or why did I interject when the one with the more education was the one leading the cause? And so, like when you get that messaging, when I was younger,
yeah.
and even now, it's hard not to internalize because we are social creatures and we care very much about the opinions of other people. That's just who
Ugh,
we are as humans. Like, that's how we're wired, is to want approval and want social connection and social validation. And so, when you put yourself out there and you're met with anything other than like acceptance or encouragement or positive, then it's just like, "Oh, that felt icky. I don't know that I
yes.
wanna do that again. Why did I even open my mouth? Why did I put myself out there? I'm just going to stay small." And
Yeah.
so, like, for a long time, I did. Like, I stayed
Mm,
small just because it was safe and it was
yeah.
comfortable and I wasn't being judged by it and I didn't have to worry about people's opinions or reactions or criticisms of what I had to say or do. Think that's true for a lot of other people too, that when you put yourself out there, you run the risk of being put down. So that's been my own personal work, as to like look at
Yeah.
that and recognize that the feedback that I've gotten from other people who don't always agree or align with what I think or what I was saying at the time, that's okay for them to have that opinion. And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with where I'm coming from or
Yeah.
that I'm any less valid than what their thoughts and feelings are. And so that has been a work in progress.
Well, let me ask you this. I love how you mentioned, like, you put yourself out there, especially at that. I can remember, my middle school and high school years, some of the same exact things that you're talking about, becoming visible in some sort of way. I was always an external processor. So I always talked out my thoughts and they weren't formalized when they came
Mhm,
out.
mhm.
And then hitting against, oh, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. That was all part of my growth process. But my question to you is, when you experienced that feedback, what did that do to you? Like emotionally or spiritually or relationally or even physically? Like, what did your body and mind and soul go through as you experienced that wounding?
Hmm. It that I'm not safe, that it's
You're
not
not
safe
safe.
for me to put it out there. Yeah, and
Yeah.
so physiologically, emotionally, psychologically, I had all of the reactions energetically throughout my body and mind and soul that it's not
Mm.
safe for me to do the thing. You have that, like, and when you don't feel safe physiologically, you have your heart is racing, you have higher
Yeah.
blood pressure, you have stress, you have anxiety.
Mm.
It's just like it wasn't safe. You go into that fight, flight, freeze almost to a sense.
Yes.
It sounds a little dramatic, but it's true. Like
Yeah.
when we experience that's how I experienced it, is
Yeah.
that it wasn't safe for me to use my voice. And so
Mm.
I had the fight, flight, freeze,
Yeah.
fawn reactions depending on where I was at, whether it was in a romantic relationship or whether I was in middle school, like
Yeah.
speaking in front of the class or like you
So
have it.
it wasn't safe for you to be you. It wasn't safe for you to be authentically you, whether that was, like, we're all growing, right? Especially in the middle school and high school. I mean, we are forming how we're supposed to be acting, but that's what I heard too. Like, it's not safe to be growing.
Yeah.
It's not safe to grow, and I'm thinking, how do we how do we eliminate that?
Mm. And it's so hard. And, like the young people that I work with today, I do everything in my power to encourage them that like you need to use your voice and it is okay to speak up for yourself and you are going to get feedback that isn't always positive, but that's part of the process and that doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. You are safe to speak up and it's going to feel uncomfortable sometimes, but that's okay. It is
Yeah.
okay. You have to, as we said at the start of this episode, like really get comfortable with sitting in discomfort. And
Yes.
really easy for me as an adult, educated adult to say right now, but try explaining that to a middle
Yeah.
school girl,
Yeah.
who's told that, hey, why did you say that in front of the class? Everybody's laughing at you. You look stupid. Whatever. Because we know our brains aren't developed until we're in our mid to upper 20s. So I can logically tell them till I'm blue in the face all the
Yeah.
things. And it doesn't land. It just can't always land for our young people until they're older. So
Yeah.
that's why I want to come at them from as many different angles as possible, like school, home, family, friendships, all of
Yeah.
that, to like just normalize this language, talking about this stuff, being on this podcast, like talking about it openly. Like this is stuff that I did not hear people talking about when I was younger.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but I definitely didn't.
Yeah, for sure. Didn't hear like it's part of the growing process. Like
Mhm,
even hurting and being in pain,
mhm,
like
mhm.
that's normal.
It
Like I
is.
like to tell people now, like God never promised that we wouldn't have suffering. This whole notion that there's no suffering, that's a lie.
Part of the human
It's part of
experience.
the human experience, and we grow so much from that. If you were to speak to your younger self, or you were to speak to a coach or a teenager or even a mom who's helping their teenager go through this stuff, what would you say was the lie or expectation that you internalized when you went through that stuff? Because I'm a big proponent of, okay, what's the truth? What's the lie? Like we gotta root out the lie or the expectation that either I myself or the culture has put on us. We have to identify and name it. So
Mhm.
what was that for you as you were going through that process of realizing, "Oh, it's not safe."
Okay, 2 lies that come to mind.
Okay.
Everybody has to like you,
Mm.
and it's not okay to be different.
Ooh, everybody has to like you. Tell me more.
You gotta be a people pleaser. Like, you can't say or do things that are gonna rock the boat or upset people. Do things for others. Make other people's lives easier. Make them comfortable. Like, be likable. Do things for
Mm.
them. Like, put their needs ahead of my own. Like, that is the most important thing. And if you don't do that, they're not gonna like you because you're, like, making them uncomfortable or, like, they don't
Yeah.
they're
Because the
saying
goal is to make them like you.
yeah, and they're gonna like me if I make them feel good, right?
Oh my
So I
goodness.
gotta make
That's so
everybody feel
good.
really good and really comfortable at my own expense.
Yeah. I mean, what if you would tell that to your teenagers, like the goal isn't that people all like you.
Yeah, yeah, and I do say that now, and,
Ah,
like, that's the thing, and, like, I say it, and, like, you could see, like, the wheels turning with them, like, "Oh, okay," like, I don't really think of it that way, but then, like, they get back into, like, the social drama or whatever is
yeah,
going on, and they
yeah.
forget, because it's hard, like, being a teenager is hard. I would
Oh,
never go back and do that again. Like that, like check the box done.
for
Okay
sure,
with
for
that.
sure. And I
Yeah.
think we grow out of some of that, but I mean, if I'm honest, I need to tell myself, Amanda, the goal is not for everyone to like you.
Yeah.
The goal is not that everybody loves what you put out there in the world. The goal is not that everyone agrees with the direction that you're going. So I think even as adults, we need to tell ourselves that too.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like, even as like you and I are both coaches and entrepreneurs, like putting ourselves out there with our own viewpoints and messages. And like, I get feedback sometimes that people don't agree with how I say something or what I do,
Mhm.
they're like, why would you do that? Like, so, and it's just like, okay, it's not the goal. Everybody's not going to be in line with what I'm doing and they're not my people. And that's okay. Like, I'm cool with that. I am
Mm.
okay with that. And knowing that, like, I'm going to attract the people that are meant to be in my world and in my space, and the people that are not meant to be in my world and space that don't like what I'm saying or doing, like, that's fine. That's okay. The
Yeah.
world would be so boring if we were all the same and had the
Mm.
same opinions and like thought about the same things. That'd be
Yes.
so boring. Yeah.
Yes. I heard recently someone say, stop trying to get the people that you want to like you to like you. They're not meant to like you. It's like,
Yes.
oh, I got to
Oh
stop
yeah.
doing.
You
Okay, so
save
what
yourself
was
so much energy.
yes. Oh my gosh, so much freedom. So that
Mhm.
was the first lie was about people having to like you. What was the second one?
You can't be different. You can't
You
be
can't be
different.
different.
Yeah. You got to fit in, right? You got to
Mm.
do what everyone else is doing. Like stay in line. Like don't look different. Don't like I said before, don't rock the boat. Like that's
Yeah.
okay. So a lot of times like if I had different thoughts or ideas, then I just kept them to myself, because I didn't want to look different. I wanted to look like everybody else because everybody else probably had it figured out much better than I did. So I wanted to
Mm.
look like and like keep my differences in check. And then that all went out the window when I was a teenager. I will tell you, I totally rebelled against that belief. Like a switch went off somewhere. I don't know what happened where I'm like, you know what? F this, my goal is to
Yeah.
look different as I can. And then I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna dress goth. I'm gonna do the black lipstick, the black eyeliner, the dye my
Yes.
hair. I
Yes.
wanna look different. Notice me. I'm different and I'm
Mm.
proud to be different. Yes, I don't adopt the same fashion sense anymore, but very much so I do try to hold on to that truth that it is beautiful to be different, that we need
Mm.
differences, we need different opinions, we need different
Yeah.
different walks of life. We need that in order
Yeah.
to be like the fullest, most amazing version of humanity that we can have.
Yeah, yes, and we can only see from our own vantage point, and so we need others in
Mm.
diversity to help us see what it really means and looks like to be human and to flourish, for sure. Goodness, thank you so much for just sharing about that wounding, and I keep hearing a lot of the wounding comes when we're in that age group of the school years. Goodness, pray for your children. Well, pray for your children. This is a hard time for them. So the goal isn't just to acknowledge our wounds, but to talk about how we can continue to move through transformation and to healing. We will all have wounds and they will keep coming because
Mhm.
people will keep what? Peopling.
Totally.
We are in the world.
Yeah,
I will hurt people. People will hurt me.
it's a given.
Um, it's a given. It's a given. But the goal isn't to stay in our wounding. It's to name it, to heal it, to process, which brings us to our next point, this point of healing. When you look back at your younger self and that trauma or turmoil, and you look at yourself now and the transformation that has happened, what were the steps or the processes or the thoughts? Get practical with me for a moment about how did you get from where you were? And I know it's a progression and we'll never arrive. But what were some of the things that you did in that process of being who you are today?
Well, I'll tell you, it's still a process, and I'll tell you what I'm still doing today when I notice this. Because, okay, I'm going to do a little psychology terminology here. So,
Love it.
when something happens, we've probably all heard the word triggered. So, in my younger years, even adult years, if I was triggered by a comment, a look, or an action that somebody would do, I wouldn't be able to recognize that I was feeling triggered, that my emotions were
Mhm.
being hijacked. I just was in it and I was lost in it and not in a healthy way. And so
Yeah.
I would spiral and ruminate, and there would be self defeating thoughts and phrases and stuff that I would just get stuck on. And it just wasn't healthy. But as I've grown and as I've practiced and as I've learned, and I'm still learning and I'm still practicing because it's all a work in progress and it's beautiful that way. I am really, really good right now at recognizing when something triggers an old wound in me. And I know that because I feel in my body almost immediately that I am having a reaction physically
Yes.
mostly, and also emotionally, that is out of proportion to what actually happened. That is
Yeah.
how I know triggering has happened. When I'm having a reaction that is out of proportion to
Proportion.
what
That's great.
actually happened. And so that to me is like a big stop sign. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I literally will say now to the people around me, if I'm feeling comfortable enough to share that, what you just said was very triggering to me. I need to take a moment and
Mm.
before I respond because I'm not able to respond from a clear point of view right now. So,
Yeah.
like, to me, just owning that, like, something happened that touched upon an old wound is a game changer. Like,
Yeah.
really, truly. Because once you know that, okay, I'm triggered. So, I'm having a reaction like a fight, flight, freeze, fawn, whatever response. So that tells me I've got some work to do to regulate. I've got some work to do to get back to my authentic self. And so this is work I do with my clients is teaching them strategies, very practical, tangible strategies that will work for you to help you quickly regulate back to a centered, authentic version of who you are so that you can, instead of react to a situation, you respond intentionally and thoughtfully as a
Yes.
leader.
Yes. Okay, so stopping and recognizing the out of proportion,
Mhm.
the out of
Mhm.
proportionness, and then what would you say is maybe your go-to strategy that you use for yourself or that you've seen really work well with others as they are working through that after they've acknowledged?
So, acknowledgement and putting words to what you're feeling cannot be underestimated, the power of that. So, just the
Mm,
power of you saying to somebody else or even to yourself or in your head, this is a trigger. This is triggering from an old wound that I have. I
yeah.
need to care for this. Like that in and of itself puts space in between the visceral reaction that you're
Yeah.
having and
Perspective.
the
Yes.
reaction. Yeah, because you want to put space between when you notice that you're triggered before you make your next move. So just labeling it and acknowledging it is an incredibly powerful first step. I would highly, highly, highly encourage people to practice that,
Yeah.
to put a word to it. Okay, I'm feeling triggered. I'm feeling anxious. My heart is racing. Whatever it is, put
Yeah.
words to it. And then there's all kinds of different techniques that you can do. Like sometimes there's so many different breathing techniques that you can do. I mean, there's a few that I use that are really, really effective at quickly bringing my heart rate back down or my breathing back to a level state that I can happily teach anybody to do. Anybody can do it. You don't need any special training to know how to do it.
Yeah.
Um, So I will, for me, myself, I will often use a breathing technique and
Mm,
I don't announce that I'm doing it. And that's the thing. Like anybody can do it anytime,
yeah.
anywhere. If you are in a meeting and it's like you get called out or something happens, you can use breathing techniques without anybody even realizing you're
Mm,
doing it so that you
that's
can
perfect.
regulate yourself in real
Yeah.
time and then respond. And it's always okay to say, I'm not ready to respond right now. I need
Yeah. Yeah.
feel rushed. Give yourself that breathing room. Give
That
yourself that
pause.
space. Yeah.
Yeah. I love I love how you're acknowledging like what's my part in
Mhm.
this. A lot of times for me personally, even the trigger was this is happening to me. I'm the victim of this. This is happening to me versus no, this is happening through me. Like
Mhm.
this is energy if you want to use that kind of language and I'm feeling triggered and I know what it feels like when I feel triggered
Mhm.
physically. It's not just the mental thing, but I physically feel some of the things that you
Yes.
were saying. And I need to acknowledge, name, and let that move through me. But if I can say this isn't happening to me, I'm not
Mhm.
a victim anymore.
And it's empowering to do that.
Oh,
It's
yes.
so empowering. None of us are victims in this world. Like
Mm.
we truly are. Like we can skillfully respond in different situations, and it is so empowering to reframe it like you just put it so beautifully. This is happening through me, or this is happening for me even, not
Mm.
happening to me.
What a grace too. Like I've had a spiritual director talk to me like this. I know this isn't how you can view it right now, but as you work through this, you will look back and say, this was a grace to me. This was a gift. This was a grace. This helped me to
Yeah.
detach from something, the external validation or someone else's approval. And so when we can think that we have been given a gift as we
Mhm.
work through this.
Mm. It's so true because you think about your own life and any of the hardships that you've had. Were it not for those hardships, would you have the strengths and the qualities that you currently
Mm,
possess?
heck
Right.
no.
Yeah.
I'd be
So
in
I
comfortable la la land.
totally, which is great if you're like, don't want to really grow or
I'd be the anxious person in the room versus the non-anxious person in the room. Oh goodness. When you look back at where you were and where you are today, what kind of permission are you giving yourself? I have a little bit of a tagline for my Leadership Wound podcast, from pain to permission. So
Mhm.
this wounding, I mean, it's painful, right? It's triggering, and it's not just physical, it's emotional and spiritual. But this pain, I believe, is a gift at times. It's a gift. It doesn't feel that way. But if I can take that pain and I can give myself permission, and that
Mhm.
looks differently for different people. So, what kind of permission did you give yourself or continue to give yourself around that wounding?
And you're asking such good questions. I'm loving this. Um, so yeah, is permission to feel whatever feeling comes up
Mm,
and know that it has a purpose and that it's not a bad feeling. There is no such thing as a bad emotion. If you're
mm,
angry, if you're furious, there's a reason that that's showing up for you. Check
yeah.
in with that. Feel that. You don't need to allow yourself to feel it. If you're heartbroken, people are afraid to cry or to release. No, you're feeling that because you experience such love in your life and like that, like let it go through you. Every single emotion is valuable, and
Mm,
I fully give myself permission to experience the emotions, to not rush the emotions, and to express the emotion in a way that feels
mm,
healthy and positive to me. And in doing that, you're modeling for others and giving others. And I have two boys at home, a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old. I will cry in front of them if I feel like I need to cry. I never leave the room and feel like I need to hide. They can't see me cry. When I was growing up, my parents, like if there was an emotion, they left the room. I wasn't allowed to have them see emotion.
I wouldn't be present in the room at all then.
Yeah, exactly. So, but now I'm just like trying to give that gift to the next generation. Like, feel the feelings. Like, it's like that's where the magic is. We are meant to experience the full wide range of emotions in humanity. And that's what makes this experience so beautiful. And
Mm,
each emotion is a communicator and it's a facilitator and it's there
yes.
to help you and serve you.
Oh
If
my
you
goodness.
are brave enough, patient enough, willing
Yes.
enough to look
Yeah.
at.
That's so good because I think the world has this complicated view um, of feelings, and we want to push them out. We don't want to feel them. We think it's either weakness or
Mhm.
oh, they're just gonna feel everything. They have this complicated perspective or lens through which they look at feelings, and feelings are neither bad nor good. They're
Mhm.
indicators. The very thing of not feeling is actually causing problems.
It causes physical problems, it causes dis-ease, it causes strain in relationships, it causes you to not be living your own most fulfilled and authentic life. Like, there's so much, and, like, that's a narrative I really wanna break, like, in this
Yeah.
lifetime is that you shouldn't feel emotions, like, you should stay in your head, be logical always,
Mm,
and, like,
neck
if you're
up.
emotional, you're weak.
Yeah.
That is so let me tell you, I have fully stepped into my power when I'm owning my emotions and owning it in a way
Mm.
that is intentional and responsible.
No
I
matter what they are. I love
whatever it
it.
is.
Yeah.
So, like in the past, if I was angry at my partner, I would, I don't know, I'd like leave the room or slam the door or whatever, or just like
Yeah.
stuff it down and not talk about it. But now I like, there's so much power to be able to look him square in the eye and say, I need you to know how angry I am right now. Like
Yeah.
that almost takes the breath away. Like, like, okay, like this is something we
Yeah.
need to work through.
Yeah.
There is power in any of your emotions if you find the right way to channel it and use
Yeah,
it.
and acknowledge it. That's the big
Yes.
piece, is
Right.
acknowledging it. There is so much power in the confession of whatever that emotion is. I love that. And it's as soon as you do it, I think they say something like it takes 90 seconds for an emotion that energy to kind of move through you. But if you never acknowledge it, it just
Mhm.
stays stuck or dormant somewhere. And we all know what happens when you sweep things under the carpet, right?
Mhm.
Someone
Nothing
trips
good.
over them later on.
Nothing good comes from that. Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, yes. Well, this has been such a meaningful conversation, Laura. Before we close, is there anything that's on your heart that you would want to tell our listeners today, even if they're not even seeing themselves as a leader? What wisdom would you share with them?
Oh, I just love the core of your messaging is that we all are leaders. We all have the ability and are, whether we want to or not, influence other people. And so the more that we acknowledge that and
Mm,
own that and aren't scared of that, like
mm.
there is so much possibility that you can do to make your life better. The people that you love, their lives better. Get in touch with your authentic self, use your voice, do good in this world, and like truly be the leader that you are all meant to be.
That's so beautiful. So if anyone is interested in finding out a little bit more about the work that you do, Laura, how can they get a hold of you and learn more?
Oh, I'd love for anybody listening to reach out to me. Have a website. It's lauraflowersllc.com. I am on Instagram. My handle is at LauraJane23. You can message me there. I answer all of them myself. I have a podcast called Rediscovering You. And if you haven't heard Amanda's episode, she was a recent guest on my podcast. Please give it a listen. You can find all of that information on my website, and I'd love to hear from you.
Perfect. That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much for just sharing your heart, your wisdom. And for those who are listening with us today, please check out her podcast, her website, any information that could be helpful. And if this resonated with any of you and you're found yourself really resonating with maybe the leadership wounds that we talked about, the ways to come back into healing and transformation, I just encourage you to check out Laura's work and also check out my website, authenticleadershipcollective.com. I know that we both offer free 30-minute consults to talk with you about the areas of how you can be authentic in your living and leading. Again, Laura, thank you so much for being with us. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. I'm so glad that you're here as we continue this unscripted conversation that the world desperately needs. Until next time, lead like you.